Good morning, grade 11 students. In this session, we're going to continue with our idea about the pedigree in the chapter of genetics for the week 29. So we started with the definition of the pedigree. What is the pedigree? Pedigree is the genetic representation of the family tree. It's the family tree, or they said it's the pedigree. What does the pedigree represent? It represents the inheritance of a trait. For example, the color of the eye, the color of the skin, the color of the hair, for example, the level of thinking, the blood groups, and so on. It shows the relationship between the individuals, whether they are, for example, they are brothers and sisters, they are siblings, or and so on. And this will indicate whether these individuals they express a specific trait or they express it silently, and this it was masked by the parents. So this is the pedigree. First of all, in order to draw the pedigree, as we said before, you have to use the legend. The legend, this is the legend. So the one that you use it in the pedigree, you have to put it as a legend. You have to draw the figure inside a box. You have to draw a box using a pencil as well as a ruler. And also, you have to give the pedigree a title. Usually, the title is going to be below the pedigree. The title, pedigree showing the family members having, for example, albinism, let's say, and so on. So this is related to the pedigree and how to draw the pedigree. Let's start with some symbols about the pedigree in this application. We said that the Sarah and Maher, they are normal. Both of them, they are normal. And they have a family history of albinism. We said that albinism is disease where melanin is not produced, leading to the lack of pigmentations of the hair and skin cells. So here, this is an albino individual. This is an albino female. This application, it showed that Sarah and Maher, both of them, they are normal. So pay attention to this. Both, they are normal. And they gave birth to 4 children. Ahmad, Jack, Marie, and Fatima. All of them, they are normal, except for Jack. Jack is an albino individual. So before I start, if I ask you, Sensei, then, is the allele coding for albinism dominant or recessive? Justify your answer.
The allele coding for
Yes, Hassan?
all were normal. It's recessive.
Recessive, why?
Most of the kids turned out normal.
It doesn't depend on the kids, it depends on the parents.
Yeah, بس من
Yes,
هنا كانت قالوا لي إنه all the kids were normal
this is
except
another
for
justification if you determine the dominant and recessive allele.
كيف
For
بدك
example, if you have blood group B and your brother have blood group A, can you say that blood group B is dominant of blood group A? Not the case. You have to go to the parents. Yes, Muhammad.
Ustaz, it is recessive since all children are normal, and Jack was the only one that had the albino.
And you explain
Uh,
the same explanation as Hassan. You move to the
that.
brothers and to sisters, to the siblings. And this is not the case. I have to look to the parents. Yes, Lynn.
Since both parents are normal, yet they gave birth to an albino child,
So
this means that albinism allele was masked in the parents,
so
so
it's
it's
what? Very good.
recessive.
Very good. So you have to look to the parents. I don't have to look to the brothers and sisters. It's not the case. You have to look to the parents. So Sarah and Maher, they are normal, but they gave birth to an affected individual, which is Jack. So Jack is an albino. So the allele for albinism, it was masked in the parents. So it's recessive with respect to the normal dominant allele. So here, normal or dominant, and the albinism allele, it's recessive. Construct a pedigree or family tree representing this family. Determine the dominant and the recessive. Whenever they said determine, so you have to justify. You don't have to say the dominant allele is the normal, and the recessive allele is the albino allele, albinism allele. It's not the case. You have to justify here. Designate by symbols the corresponding alleles, determine the possible genotype of the parents and their children, perform the essential factorial analysis to verify these results. Let's start step by step. First of all, constructing the pedigree. Before we start with the pedigree, these notes you have to know them. The circle is always for the woman, for the female, and the box or the square, it's always for the male. This one, for example, this rhombus is for the fetus. So always you have to know these symbols. And for example, this can you can say for normal woman. Okay, this is straight one. You can say normal woman. Here you can move for, let's say, albino woman. Okay, this is an example. Albino woman. This is the box. Always the white one is going to be for the normal. Always they use this. So this is the normal man or normal male you want. Normal man. And this is the albino man. You can say, can I use the word affected? Yes, you can use the word affected. But if they mention the disease, I prefer to use the word that is referring to the disease. So albino man. And finally, this is the fetus. You have to know that when the box is connected to the circle, male and female, this means the marriage. This is relative mating between cousins, for example. You have to put two lines here. These are the children, and these for the twins. So you have to know these symbols before we start. This is the pedigree. As I said, the pedigree should be drawn inside a box. You have to give it a title pedigree showing the family members. Legend. Here, I didn't use the legend for the albino woman. Why? Because it's not mentioned inside the pedigree. Moving now to determine the dominant and recessive. What did I say? I said since Sarah and Maher, both of them, they are normal. So they gave birth to an albino jack. So the parents must be carrying the albinism allele, but it was masked by the dominant normal allele. So normal allele is dominant over the allele of albinism, which is recessive. Designate by symbols each of the corresponding alleles. So I have to give, let N capital be the symbol of the normal allele, which is dominant over the recessive allele of albinism. And let A small be the symbol of the allele of albinism, which is recessive with respect to the dominant normal allele. This is parts 1, 2, and 3. Determine the possible genotype or genotypes of the parents and their children. Let's start step by step. We gave M and A. M for the normal and A for the abnormal. First of all, Jack. Let's move to Joel. Jack is genotype is what? So we gave for the normal, we gave N capital. For albinism, we gave A small. So what is the genotype or the possible genotype or genotypes for Jack? Yes, Joel, what do you think?
Ustaz, repeat the question, please. قطش الصوت.
What is the genotype or the possible genotype or genotypes for Jack?
It is AA since the albino allele is recessive.
Only? This is your justification only, since the albino allele is recessive? And it should be expressed in what? In homo?
In the homozygous form.
In the homozygous state only. So you have to say this is A small, A small. Why? Since the albino allele, albinism allele, it's recessive and it should be expressed only in the case of homozygous. That's why the genotype is A small, A small. Okay? Moving forward, Maher and Sarah. Maher and Sarah, both of them, they are normal, but they gave birth to an albino jack. What do you think, Cynthia? What is the genotype of Maher and that of Sarah?
There, did we designate the symbol of the
Normal, it's
N
N, and the
capital?
abnormal, it's A small, albino.
Okay.
Okay.
So NA.
NA.
They're
Maher,
NA.
both of them, they are NA.
Then,
Okay, can you explain this?
since
they gave birth to Jack, an albino child,
So,
and the A is masked. the
uh,
شو اسمه the albino allele is
yes,
masked in the fetus, which is Jack.
yes.
So both parents have albino allele.
Okay. So, can we explain it in for example, in a clear way? Let's see. For example, first of all, Maher and Sarah, they are normal or they are affected?
They are normal.
They are normal. So they can be either
Mm.
an A or they
Or
can
an
be
N.
an. So we have here two possibilities, either an A or an N. But
But since they gave birth to Jack,
they gave birth to Jack having allele, having genotype A.
AA
So Jack should inherit allele A from
from the
each of his
parents.
parents. So they should be
Yeah,
what? They should be an A. There is
A.
no possibility to be an N. إذا هني an, so Jack will be normal. So that's not the case. So an, it's not the case. So it's an A. This is the explanation here. Ahmad, let's move now to Hani. What do you think? What is the genotype of Ahmad? He's normal, right or not?
Yes,
Okay, so obligatory is going to carry the allele
and
and. Okay, what is the second one?
it can be an and it can be a.
Yeah, it can be, it has two possibilities, either an A or an N. Why?
Yes.
Because it's normal. So ممكن ياخد N من بيو ماهر وأن من أمه, or he can take N from one of his parents and the second parent we have A. So we have two possibilities. Can we determine exactly, Hani, through the pedigree if it's an N or an A? In the
If
pedigree.
we let Ahmad marry someone,
Okay, we can determine if he got married and then he gave birth and affected, so sure it will be an A. Other than this,
yes.
in the coming sessions, we will have special techniques we can determine. One of them is called the gel electrophoresis. This technique will give the precise genotype, whether it's an N or an A. In the coming sessions, we're going to talk about this in details. So this is no 100% chance, either an A or an N. We can determine this. Thank you, honey. Let's move now to Mahdi. Mahdi, Fatima is normal or abnormal or it's affected?
مهدي أو فاطمة يا أستاذ مين؟
ما بقول Mahdi, Fatima is affected or normal. So Fatima here, the pedigree.
أنا انتبهت لها.
Okay, yeah,
نورمال
normal. So she should carry which allele as هي normal?
الليل مثل أحمد ان or ان
An or an A. So since she's normal, so she should carry an A or an N. Okay, thank you, thank you, Mahdi. Let's move now to Ranskaiki. What do you think about Marie?
Mary is normal.
So she should carry the allele M for sure.
Yes.
So second allele can be what?
It can be an or an A.
So it
or
has two
A.
possibilities, an N or an A.
An A.
So whenever we have to solve the pedigree, so you can use Marie, Fatima, and Ahmad, one justification. So you can solve them together. You can say Ahmad, Fatima, and Marie, since they are normal and we don't know if they have and they didn't get married, so we can say that either they can be an N or an A. We can solve them at once. Marie, Fatima, and Ahmad, all of them we can solve it at once. Okay? So هون من pedigree Maher and Sarah, what is the genotype? Will be an A, and this one is an A. So here, from now on, whenever we have a pedigree, you have to use the pedigree. The pedigree is the key for the solution. If you don't use the pedigree, for example, they got married and they gave birth to albino. مين هن اللي got married? You have to use the pedigree. Here you have names. Sometimes you don't have names. If you remember when we talk about the numbers 1 1, 1 2, 1 3, 1 4, and so on. So you have to be careful about this. Let's move now to part C, or part 4, sorry. So since Jack is an albino, albinism allele, it's recessive. So usually we have to say it is expressed only in the case of homozygous. So Jack is necessarily pure of the genotype A small, a small. Maher and Sarah, and pay attention before I continue here. What did we give the symbols, ya Mirna, for the normal and for the affected? What are the symbols? Mirna, what are the symbols for the normal and the symbol for the affected or the albinism? What are the symbols? Okay, let's move to Maya Salha. Good morning, ya Maya. Okay, great. Nada, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, Nada, نحن we gave the symbol for the normal what?
أستاذ شو السؤال؟
What is the symbol for the normal allele?
N.
And
N
capital.
capital.
What is the symbol of the albinism allele?
A small.
A small. So can we change these alleles whenever we move in the second parts?
No.
If you change this, you will lose all the mark. Yani whenever we have to put the genotypes, you change the alleles. So here, instead of saying NA, انت حبيت تغير عملتها NS or N, for example, NL. So this means that you use another symbol. So this means that you're going to lose the mark here. So pay attention. Whenever you use a symbol, you can't change it in the other part. Yani I choose the symbol for the normal allele and capital and the abnormal allele a small. I can't change it in the second part or the third part or in the factorial analysis. So you have to pay attention for this. Thank you, Nada. So Maher and Sarah, they are normal, but they gave birth to an albino Jack. Then they must be carrying the albinism allele, but it should be dominant and should be masked by the dominant allele of the normal. So they are hybrid, they are heterozygous of genotype and A. Part 4, the last one we talk about Fatima, Maria, and Ahmad. Since the normal is dominant, so it can be expressed in both homozygote, so it is pure, or the heterozygote, which is the hybrid. So here, homozygous or heterozygote, pure or the hybrid. So it can be expressed on both. That's why Marie, Ahmad, and Fatima, they can be either homozygote or heterozygote. So they can be either an N or they can be an A. Part 5, which is the factorial analysis. What do they need in part 5? Part 5, they ask you perform the essential factorial analysis to verify these results. Here, how many kids do we have? We have 4. 1 out of 4 turns out to be albino, while 3 out of 4 turns out to be normal. 3 out of 4, they are normal. So they want us to perform the essential factorial analysis to verify these results. يعني بالfactorial analysis, whenever we finish, 1 over 4 should be albino and 3 over 4 should be normal. So there, they said to perform to verify these results. Here, it's up to you. You can work either percentage or proportion, if I didn't mention. But if I told you perform the essential factorial analysis to determine the phenotypic proportion or to verify the phenotypic proportion, so you are forced to do it as proportion. So let's start step by step. Maher and Sarah, they are normal. So we start first with the phenotype. This is the phenotype. Both male and female, both of them, they are normal. So you have to put male, between them cross, and then we put female, put the symbols first like this. Both of them, they are normal. So normal is crossed with another normal male crossed with a normal female. And then we move to the genotype. Both of them, Maher and Sarah, they are heterozygotes. So both of them, they have an A. So this is the genotype, an A, and here we have an A. Some of you is going to start to use another symbol other than A. In this part, if you use another symbol, so meaning that you're going to lose all the mark. Yes, Tala, gametes. What are the different gametes in the male and female? Gametes, you have to write gametes, and you have to put the symbol gamma. So gametes, of symbol gamma. Yes, Tara, what are the
Yeah.
different gametes given by the male?
By the male, 50% N and
Proportion.
50% A.
We want working proportion here.
1/2
1 over
half
2. Very
in
good.
N or half
Very
A.
good. So we have two different type of two different alleles, so two different gametes. And we have A. Both of them they are, if you want to work it in proportion, so half 1 over 2, and the I it's 1 over 2. The same for the female. Female, the same process. So M, it's 1 over 2, and A, it's 1 over 2. Now, whenever we finish table of we finish the gametes, we have to move to the table of cross and the table of results. So the moving to the table of cross. Let's start step by step with the table of cross. Table of cross, I have to draw it. Sure, we have to draw it using a pencil and a ruler. And divide it into two here. First, you have to divide male and female. Here in this case, both male and females, they are having both two different gametes. So M half, and we have here A, it's half. And then we are going M and the female half, and the female A is half. So on M, it's 1 over 4. And on A, it's 1 over 4 too. How did I get 1 over 4? It's 1 over 2 times 1 over 2. Math, fractions. Then on A also, it's 1 over 4. And last one, it's AA, it's 1 over 4. Moving finally to the table of results, we have to divide it into genotype, which will lead to the phenotype. So genotype and phenotype. So in the genotype, what do we have? We have NN, which is 1 over 4. So you have to put it NN 1 over 4. NA, you have 1 over 4 plus 1 over 4. It will be half. So NA, it's 1 over 2. And the last one, it's AA, it's 1 over 4. So here, NN, it's normal. NA, also it's normal. Since the normal allele is dominant, it can be expressed in both homozygous or heterozygous. So 3 over 4, they are normal. And 1 over 4, they are turn out to be an albino. So therefore, the results are verified. Since we have 3 over 4 of the children, they are normal, and 1 over 4 turned out to be an albino. These are very important. Whenever we have the pedigree, it's very important to solve according to the pedigree and to focus on the pedigree, because the pedigree is the key and it's the solution for the question here. So here we finished everything for the first part for the pedigree, the first part. This is pedigree part 1. In the next week, we're going to continue with the next part of the pedigree.